I've had this black Mamba cage in for the Canon R7 made by SmallRig for a few weeks now, and at least here in September of 2022, it's definitely the best cage out for this camera. Now, although it is the best cage, there is one huge flaw with this cage that if you're looking to have something like this cage for the R7, I've said cage a lot, so today I'm going to review the cage, let you know what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and if I recommend it, which at least right now I do, but I can definitely see with some of the flaws this cage has, either SmallRig may come out with a second version of it or some other company will try to fix it on their own. So first off, this cage matches the color of the R7 really well, definitely blends in with the camera. It's relatively form-fitting, so it doesn't add that much bulk to the overall size, so it fits in my camera bag really nice. The cage has one NATO rail here on the side, which I haven't really used, but it is good if you're gonna have a left side handle. Now, I had to put my own little thin profile NATO rail here on the top because I do like occasionally, whether it's putting my monitor here or putting a top handle, having the NATO rail for easy access. So luckily these NATO rails here on the top are really low profile, so it isn't that big of a deal, but it is worth noting. The major thing about the Black Mamba cage is that it doesn't cover any of the buttons. So you have easy access to every single button on here without having to worry about navigating around them or around the cage. Now, the really cool part about this cage is the fact that it has this Arca Swiss on the bottom, which is really good if you have tripods or accessories that use Arca Swiss. Good news too with this is if you have a DJI RS2 or RS3, you don't have to use their Arca Swiss plate. You can actually mount this cage directly onto the DJI RS2, RS3 plate, which is just one less thing you have to bring with you while you're traveling or on a gig. Also on the bottom here, they give you this small little tool, and it's great because you can just put your camera in the cage or take your camera out of the cage. So again, one less thing you have to think about. You have this little tool that magnetically sticks right here, so not too bad. As far as other features of the cage, there is a cold shoe here at the corner, which is nice and out of the way. I like that they added this cold shoe because if you have the Canon R7 or if you've been interested in it, I don't like taking this top cover off of the hot shoe in the R7. Reason being, it's using Canon's new system if you haven't seen much of it on the R7. It's made for some smarter accessories like microphones or XLR interfaces, but if you have this thing opened and you don't cover it, you can actually damage the ports. So it actually is better to leave this little plastic piece cover in for the hot shoe. Having this little cold shoe on the side makes it so I don't have to remove this piece at all. I can put my audio transmitter, microphone, whatever here on the side of the camera. Obviously, with me putting my little NATO rail here, it does cover the 1/4 inches on the top. Speaking of the side right here though, this is the one huge mistake that SmallRig made that may impact some of you, especially if you have bigger fingers. So if you're using something like a Canon EF to RF adapter, especially the VND adapter, or you have a bigger RF lens, when you try to go hit the lens release, the actual cage is in the way of hitting the button. So if you have bigger hands like mine, it's hard enough to hit the button with nothing there, but when you have a bigger RF lens like 35 1.8, or if you're using, again, the Canon VND adapter, you have to work even harder to hit this button. So that's number one, huge oversight because I use RF to EF adapters a lot, and I also have pretty big fingers, unfortunately. So this cage was a little bit of a downside in that factor, and it also may limit me and prevent me from using this cage long term. The other major problem is how far out this NATO rail sticks, which is also part of the reason you have a hard time hitting the lens release. Because it sticks out so far, when you're using something like a Canon variable ND adapter, you actually cannot remove your lens filters while this cage is engaged. You have to completely remove the adapter to switch your filters, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of drop-in filters. So that's been a huge issue because using the R7, I use mostly EF glass and I'm using the VND adapter all of the time, especially when I'm outside. It's just a lifesaver, and it's one of the main reasons why I went with Canon RF cameras over Sony E-mount. There really aren't any of those VND options on Sony. So because of that, I think long term, I probably won't be using this cage, but I think for now, while there really aren't any options right now, that's why I say here in September of 2022, it is the best cage option. It's built really well. It has a lot of great functionality. For someone like me with big fingers, unfortunately, at some point, this cage is going to go to another home. But for now, it does work. It doesn't block any of the ports, which is really big as well. It doesn't block the screen at all. So it has a lot of great functionality, but I think this whole thing with the lens is a huge oversight, which will really force them to have to redesign this cage at some point. They may have rushed out this cage in order to have the first best cage for the R7, since a lot of other companies like Tilta, I haven't seen their options for the R7 yet. But for now, this is the best that there is here in 2022. If you have any questions on the SmallRig Black Mamba cage, make sure to ask in the comments below. And if you got knowledge and value out of today's video, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to keep up to date with the latest videos. Until next time, my name is Geoff Fagien. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.